Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel. I'm going to demonstrate a quilt block and it's called Card Trick. And this one is just using 2 colors of fabric. There is a 4-color card trick, but that's more advanced. So I'm going to show you a really simple way of doing this block. I've taken away a lot of the half square triangles and replaced it with another method. There are still a few half square triangles that are in each of the outer corners. When you're selecting fabrics, make sure there's a sharp contrast. You don't want to have a really loud print with another loud print because the design of the card trick block will disappear. So here's an example of another block. This one's just a little bigger, but see how sharp the contrast is. So even if they are the same color of fabrics, this has a sharp contrast because this is almost solid and this is very open between the white and the stripes on the fabric. All of the cutting instructions are listed below your YouTube screen in the description section. So just scroll down until you see the word more, click on it, and that section will expand open and you will see the fabric cutting instructions. Now the 3 fabrics are identified in the cutting instructions as fabric A and B, and that's my colors in here. The C fabric is your background fabric. So you want to make sure that the background fabric also does not conflict with your A and B fabrics. So you're going to lay them out like this. You'll have an A fabric, a B fabric, B fabric, A fabric, and then you'll have your 2 larger pieces, which are your 2.5 by 4.5 here and here, and then your background squares up in each corner. I'm going to start in the center of the block and put that together first. Bring the 2.5-inch squares together so you're matching one print against another print. And you do that on both, so bring right sides together, which are your pretty sides, and stitch a 1/4 inch wide seam. Then press these seams. And then make sure whichever is your darkest fabric is on top. Then open it up like this and take your iron and press on top, and you're pushing these seams, gently pushing, so that the seams go towards your darkest fabric. So now take them and turn one of them so that it's opposite like this. Then take them and bring them right sides together, your pretty sides. Make sure that the seam on top is going in the opposite direction than the seam on the bottom. And match them up, get them in real snug together so that it feels flat. Then put a pin here to hold it so that it does not shift while you're stitching. And then stitch a 1/4 inch wide seam right along there. Now press the seam, unfold it, and press the seam on top, gently pushing and making the seam go all in one direction. Now take the 2 outer pieces, and these are 4.5 inch long, and bring them on top with the right side down, the prettiest side. And then I advise you, if you're new at sewing, that you pin your edges here and then stitch a 1/4 inch wide seam. Then press the seams and then unfold and press the seams on top. And I recommend that you press the seams along here going away from the center of the block. So you see they're going out this way. Now take the fabric pieces that were in the top row and the bottom row, and you're going to take the small background squares and put them on top of the strips, and then stitch a 1/4 inch wide seam along here, and then unfold going out. Now, you're going to press them, but this time you're going to press these seams going into the center. So you do that in both rows. Now take both rows and place them on top along this bottom edge of the center piece and match up your seams. So the seams on top are going in this way and the seams on the bottom are going out and away. So get them in real snug, and it should feel flat when you're lining them up. I would again place pins to hold these seams and then stitch a 1/4 inch wide seam all along there. And also remember to do this side also. Now, before you unfold this out, press the seam on the back side underneath and then press on top and press this seam going towards the center block. Take your two 6.5 inch squares and place the ruler going from corner to corner, and take your time lining it up. Once you have it lined up, then go ahead and cut it right down the center. Now take two of your half square triangles and place them on opposite ends. You're going to place one over here too. When you are lining them up, you want to make sure this point right here is on top of this seam, and it's right even with this seam. This will tell you that your block is, or that this piece is centered, because you need to have it centered. Then once you have it centered, and you will have fabric pieces sticking out, place pins along here and stitch a 1/4 inch wide seam, and do it at this end also. Then press this seam, then unfold it and press this seam here going away from the center of the block. Then you'll have these little tails right here. Go ahead and cut all 4 tails off. Now take your last 2 half square triangles, place them on top, making sure that the point is right on that seam, and then it's lined up evenly on this edge. Place pins to hold, stitch a 1/4 inch seam, and then press your seams. And also do this side too. Now I'm going to square the block. Now if you're making a quilt or a big project where you have multiple blocks in it, you need to wait till you've got all your blocks done and then square them. Because if they're not all the same size, you're going to have a problem when you begin to assemble all the blocks together. I have a separate tutorial that you should watch if you've never made a quilt before, and it will tell you how to get all your blocks exactly the same size, because you might have some that are too big, maybe others too small, and I go over how to address that problem. So let's pretend everything's good. So here's how you would go about squaring a block. So this one is going to come down to maybe 11.5 inches. So as you can see, it's already a little uneven along here, but I want to make sure that I have 1/4 inch from this point right here out to the edge. That's the important part, because that's going to be hidden in your seam. You also need to make sure it's like that over here on this side. So make sure that you've got that 1/4 inch line. This one's going to come up a little short, but I'm not going to tell you how to address that. Watch that other tutorial. So I'm just going to assume that everything is great. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this edge, and then I'm going to trim it straight on this side, and then I'm going to go over on this side. then take this corner and bring it over to here, like that. Place your previously cut edge over here, and this is going to be 11.5 inches by the time I'm done. That's what I'm shooting for. And then get it all lined up, and then trim this side, and then go over and trim this side. And that's how you go about squaring a quilt block. Again, make sure you watch that tutorial on squaring all your blocks to the same size. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you've learned something new. If you're interested in other beginner sewing projects, make sure you scroll down to the description section. So as you scroll down, look for the word more, click on it, and that section will expand open. And then you'll see all of the links appearing. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and make sure you check out my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and happy sewing. If you like the Sewing Room channel, one of the best ways to show your support is to subscribe by clicking on that red subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. And make sure you click on the bell so you receive notifications for all my new videos. I'm Cheryl, this is Manny, and this is Scotty. See you next time.